Shalom, shalom, mishpacha. Welcome to another edition of Ray Bash's Ramblings. I'm your host, Rabbi Yehuda ben Shomer, and today I want to pose the question, what is the meaning of life? Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you just didn't, Rabbi. What are you thinking? What in the world have you just done? Oh, no, you've just opened the lid to Pandora's box. Now it can't be closed. Great. Thanks a lot, Rabbi Yehuda. I don't know what the heck you're thinking. Are you crazy, Rabbi Yehuda? Have you bitten off more than you can chew? Have you fallen off your rocker? Don't you realize that through the eons, from Egypt to Greece to Rome, and even to the philosophers of today, that they've posed this very question, and none can find a satisfactory answer? There's been volumes and volumes in library rooms filled with books posing and discussing and debating such question. It has even spawned a branch of philosophy all its own called existentialism. How can you ask that? What is the meaning of life? I mean, that's an innate question that we are born and bred to ask, that every single person has asked themselves at least once in their life. How can you, a small, piddly rabbi, tucked away in some far-off corner of New Brunswick, Canada, can even fathom that you even have an inkling or know that there could even be a possible answer for the question, what is the meaning of life? It's plagued man forever. So what are you doing bringing it up? Well, my friends, I'm glad you asked. I don't have the answer, but my God does. And my God has revealed his answer through Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verses 13 and 14, where King Solomon, the greatest philosopher of all time, the one who was endowed with wisdom from on high, from God himself, the wisest man who ever lived, the man who had kings and queens during his reign flock to Jerusalem to sit under his teaching, to sit at his feet, to see if they can glean just even a morsel of wisdom from him that they can take back, and they could rule their country as well as King Solomon ruled his. It says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Put it in our vernacular, in our English. You want to know what the meaning of life is? You want to know what this is all about? I'll tell you. He said to fear God and to keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. What is the meaning of life? What am I doing here? Why was I even born? What does reality mean? I mean, after all, I never asked to be born. I never asked to be created. What's this all about? What is the meaning of my life? To fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This is the reason that mankind was created, to reverentially fear God, which reverential fear is not just this cowering fear, oh no, God's going to squash me like a bug. Reverential fear is that same fear that you have for your earthly parents. You know, that you love them. You know, every time my dad would come home from work after a long day of work, and I was a real small boy, I would run and just cling to his leg, just grab him around the leg and just hug him. Oh, Dad, I'm so glad you're home. But you know what? If I sassed my mama during the day, or I did something my mama didn't want me to, and I disobeyed, I reverentially feared my father, because when he got home, buddy, it was all over. It was either his hand or his belt, or a good tongue lashing, and neither one of them were fun or good. But you know what? I still love my dad. I wasn't afraid that he was going to squash me like a bug or something crazy like that, but I reverentially feared my dad. And in that reverential fear, there was love, intense love. So what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of man? To fear God, to love God. Deuteronomy 6:4, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And Yeshua said there's a second commandment that's as equal unto the first, love your neighbor as yourself. And he said to fear God and to keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. How do we keep his commandments? We're sinful, fallen creatures. You keep them by walking in the footsteps of Yeshua, the Messiah, by walking and following the Torah, covered and saturated and walking in the bloody footsteps of Messiah, because it is His blood that atones for our sins, for our mistakes, for our shortcomings, for the areas where we try and just fall short of the goal, where we try and just fall short of the mark. That's grace, and He covers that. But that's no excuse or no license to say, oh, well, He kept all the commandments for me, so I don't have to keep them. And you just live your life honky-dory. Nuh-uh. No. He said, you fear God and you keep His commandments. You keep the commandments to the very best of your ability. How do I keep the commandments? You keep it out of that reverential fear and that reverential love for God. You keep them because you love Him. You don't keep them because you have to. You keep them because you want to, because you love Him and you want to please Him. You don't want to do anything to hurt Him or harm God. And I remember sometimes when I was out as a teenager, tempted in my life, I could have smoked a doobie. I could have got me some. I could have gotten smashed drunk. But you know what? You know what kept me from that? Not necessarily the Bible, I'll be honest with you. The Bible wasn't the first thing to come to my mind. My thought was, oh my gosh, my mom and dad found out. It's not even that I was afraid that my mom and dad would kill me. My mom and dad found out. Oh my gosh, they'd be so hurt. They'd be so crushed. They'd be so disappointed. How could I do that to them? That's what kept me from sin. That's what kept me from keeping my mom and dad's rules and regulations. And that's what keeps me keeping the commandments to the best of my ability today, is walking in the footsteps of Yeshua, our Messiah, by walking in the following in Torah out of love, not out of obligation, not out of God twisting my arm behind my back to say, Uncle, okay, I'll keep your commandments, Lord. I do it because I want to, because I love Him so much. And that's what I'm created for. That's what I'm made for, to fear God and keep His commandments. Because when I fear God and keep His commandments, I at the same time worship Him. And that's what I'm created to do. I'm created to worship something greater than myself. I'm created to worship God and to love Him. Solomon had it, man. I don't have to look at Nietzsche. I don't have to look at Socrates. I don't have to look at Aristotle. I don't have to look at Jung. I don't have to look at any of these other philosophers. Solomon had it right there. What is the question? What is the meaning of life? Answer: to fear God and keep His commandments. Plain and simple. Even a child can understand it. Thank you for watching. Shalom and Shavua Tov.